So we're going to continue on today looking at the Annapannasati sutta. For those of you that missed what we're talking about in the last couple of weeks, the videos are actually up on, the video of the talks are up on the Meditation the Shire website. So I think this year it's video number 48, 49 and 50, and so this will be number 51 when it goes up. But I'm thinking of splitting it up into years. I should do that. It's just getting to be too many videos up there. Too many. Anyway. So the question is, how do we develop mindfulness of breathing? So we know, okay, in many meditation traditions, we talk, oh yeah, you just watch your breath, don't you? You watch your breath and you let go. But really, how do you develop the practice? And there was really clear instructions given on how to develop it. The first one I want to do is just the analogy of what it's like to watch the breath. The Buddha actually gave an analogy of what that's like, how you do it. He said, just as a gatekeeper examines each person entering and leaving the city only as they pass through the gate, without following them inside or outside the city, so too the meditator should be aware of each breath only as it passes. It says through the nostrils. Now, through the nostrils is somebody's interpretation. I guarantee it did not say through the nostrils. The Buddha talked about mindfulness to the front. And different traditions are actually interpreting it depending on what their technique is, of course, without following it inside or outside the body. Okay, so what does this mean? So say we've got a big palace, and every weekend the palace opens up and there's big markets inside, so everyone goes in and they sell everything in the markets, right? You've got a guard at the gate. It's a palace, you know, you've got to watch who goes in and out. So what happens is the guard just sits at the gate and they watch. Now people are coming in outside the gate. Now since the markets are open, people are allowed to come in and out. So you don't try to stop anyone. But what the guard needs to do is needs to memorise the face of every person that comes through. Know every person clearly. After doing this job for a while, there might be some people coming through the gate and they go, oh yeah, I know you. Hi Joe, hi Jill. Hello, how are you going? And that's what will happen in your meditation practice. Some things will come familiar. Some things will come in through that gate that you don't recognise. So spend a bit more time trying to get to know them well. Don't assume that you know anything. Now, if the guard follows the people into the palace or out the other side, they'll miss the next person coming through the gate. In the same way, when we're watching in and out breathing, we take one point. It can be the tip of the nose, it can be the chest, it can be the abdomen. Wherever the sensations of breathing are most obvious to you. Don't try to pick a point. Start off with general awareness and then you'll find your attention will actually zoom in on one point naturally as your concentration grows. So we're not forcing it, it's just natural. Right? But what you do is you don't follow it, you just watch that one point and follow the experience, watch how the experience changes. Now if I'm watching an in-breath and then I start thinking about that in-breath, I'm actually going to miss the next out-breath, aren't I? Because my attention is still on the in-breath. If I miss that out-breath, can I ever experience it again? Ever? No. It's gone forever. It no longer exists. If I'm watching an out-breath, right, and then I wander off thinking, the next in-breath will happen, won't it? It's not going to wait for me to stop thinking. Will I ever be able to experience that in-breath again? No. It's gone, finished, doesn't exist. Life is like this. If we're not paying attention to life, if we're not really present, we're actually missing our life. It's gone. And this is what the meditation is teaching us. We have to watch it closely, to watch this in-breath, that out-breath. This in-breath, that out-breath. We can't hang around, we can't think about anything. There's no time for thinking because it's constantly changing. And so we're learning to be attentive to that flow of change. to always be present. If you spend your life lost in your head thinking about stuff, if you're walking down the beach and thinking about something else, if you're eating your breakfast thinking about something else, if you're sitting here thinking about something, you are missing the experience of your life. You are wasting your life. Because every moment that you miss is gone. And any parent will tell you that when a child's growing up. Quite often what they regret is they didn't expend enough, moments, just really focus with that child. Because before you know it, they've left the house, hopefully. It just goes, and you missed it, you can never get it back, ever. So the whole of life is like this. So being attentive to each moment is really important. Otherwise we're not alive, it's just like we're dead. We're walking dead. Most people, the shouting in the car park was walking dead. They're completely missing what was actually happening. Completely. Lost in the story in their head. So that's what it's pointing towards. So in the start of this, last week, I'll just read the end bit, but I'm not going to go into detail. It said, setting mindfulness to the front, always mindful they breathe in, mindful they breathe out. At this stage, we're just being generally aware of the breathing. We're not actually focusing in on it. So we're breathing, but we know that there's breath happening, but we're not looking closely. That's what we talked about last week. So this is setting up mindfulness. At the beginning of that last practice, we put our awareness in our body, and then we turn towards the breath. Now we were doing breath control in that last one. In mindfulness of breathing, there's no breath control. Just allow the breathing to happen naturally, which is one of the hardest things to do. So the bit that we're going to look at today and moves further, the Buddha's talking about how to develop this actual mindfulness of breathing. How do you develop it? He said, breathing in long, they know, I am breathing in long. Or breathing out long, they know, I am breathing out long. Or breathing in short, they know, I am breathing in short. Or breathing out short, they know, I am breathing out short. See the change? In the first one, we just knew that there was breathing. Now, we're actually directing our attention. We're directing our attention to the breath, and we're knowing something about the breath. So this is actually more focusing the attention. From general awareness, we're becoming a little bit more focused. So this is the progression. So what you do is you start watching your breath and know, is this in-breath long, short, medium, right? Is this out-breath long, short, medium? Is the length of the out-breath different to the length of the in-breath? Are these lengths constant, or they're a changing flow all the time? When I watch it over time, does the breath get shorter or does the breath get longer? And this is really important because our breathing is a mirror of our mind. So through studying the breathing and the length of the breath, we're also directly seeing what our state of mind is. If you're anxious, how does your breath become?
Short.
It becomes short, doesn't it? Short and shallow. It's like...
And bumpy.
And bumpy, yeah. Right? If you're angry, how does it become? If you're fearful, how does it become? If you're nervous, how does it become? Right? If you're deeply relaxed, how does it become? How is it when you're deeply relaxed, like when you fall asleep? Slow, long and smooth. Yeah. The breathing is a direct reflection of what's happening in our mind. If you're stressed, your breath will become shorter and shorter. You'll start suffocating. We often wonder why we get anxiety feelings. I think we're actually getting anxiety feelings because we're actually suffocating. And that's something to be very anxious about. We're not getting much oxygen in our body at all. If you do deep breathing is just exact opposite to anxiety. Anxiety feelings disappear. Probably a lot of it disappears because you're actually getting oxygen back into your body again. Yeah? So we can learn a lot. You can learn a lot about your mind state. Now, it doesn't mean you're changing it on purpose, but you will start to study yourself. And you will watch how doing these techniques, the concentration builds, the awareness builds, the breath, if it's progressing, will actually get longer and smoother and more relaxed in itself. The breath will settle down. And so you know as the breath is settling down, what else is settling down? What's settling down if your breath is settling down? Your mind. So in that last technique we did, letting go, we purposely manipulated the breath, made the breath long and thin, because when we changed the breath, it changed the state of mind. We did that on purpose. And that's the knowledge. This is knowledge that you gain from meditation. Notice, next time you do that letting go practice, watch how changing the breath changes the mind. Relaxing the body changes the mind state. Relaxing the breath changes the mind state, because the body and the breath are a reflection of your mind state. And the thing is, breathing is body, because the only way we experience the breath is as sensations in the body. It's a sense of touch in the body. We can't actually feel the air. We just feel the sense of touch. It's all the same thing. Emotions, everything manifest in the body. Everything does. So you relax the body, relax the breath, you relax the mind. Simple. So that's what he's pointing at. That's the first one. First one, general awareness. Next one, looking at the length of the breath. Not trying to change it, knowing this is about wisdom. This isn't about trying to alter reality. This is how it progresses. So then he goes on, and this is really interesting, this. He says, they train themselves. I will breathe in experiencing the whole body. They train themselves. I will breathe out experiencing the whole body. Notice we've gone general awareness, right? Then being aware of something. We're being aware of the length of the breath. Next, we've gone from awareness to training. There's a difference between being aware of something and training. What is training? When we train something, what are we doing? Aren't we developing a skill when we're training?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're trying to develop a skill. Developing a skill means that we don't actually have this skill at the moment, but if we do it regularly, if we do it conscientiously, with balanced effort, we can actually develop a skill. So he's talking about training. See, bare awareness, awareness of something, and now we've gone into training. So how are we training at this point compared to the last one? Experiencing the whole body. Lots of controversy or discussion, I should say, in the tradition about what this means. But I'll give you two different ways, and I'll let you find out for yourself, because I've found different people are different. Okay. Experiencing the whole body of breath. Right? Whole body of breath. How do you do that? Look at the beginning, look at the middle, look at the end of each breath. Gap. Beginning, middle, end of the out breath, gap. Beginning, middle, end of the in breath. See if you can see a gap or a pause in between. See how we're looking at it in more detail now? We're not only knowing the length of the breath, as the mind, when the mind settles down enough, of course the mind state, so the breaths become nice, long and thin, then once it's settled down, the next stage we go to is looking at the breath in more detail. Beginning, middle, end. The whole breath. Yeah? This is very important. And this is very important for the progression of this practice. Right? You've got to be very attentive to catch the very beginning of each breath, don't you? You have to be very attentive to catch the very middle, and even more attentive to catch the very end. You look at how much effort it takes. So notice the focus is getting finer and finer and finer and finer. Now the other way of doing that is you can bring your awareness on the outside of your body, be aware of the breathing going in and out, and watch the beginning, middle and end. Or you can focus your attention really in, trying to look really closely at it, real close, and look at the beginning, middle and end. Some people's minds, some people's attention can be held in really close, right? And they feel more comfortable there. They go more on that path of concentration. Other people, when they try to hold it close, they'll get very restless, too much energy, and they can't do it. They'll get claustrophobic. They're better off widening your attention. And throughout the year we'll muck around with that, and even today. Actually, we did that last week, didn't we? Widen your attention and just be aware of it. But then the people who like to concentrate finally on something, if they widen their attention, they usually end up spacing out. So different people, you've got to find what suits you. It's a balance of energy. If you're restless, widen your attention, right? If you're dulling out, you want to look closer. Look more closer. Yeah, get aware of that. See, so we're doing training now. We're training the mind. So at this point, we're no longer watching the breath. Watching the breath is actually training us. It's training us now. It's training our attention. And then he goes on to say, this is the next stage after you've done that training there, after you can see that clearly, particularly the ends. Very important. They train themselves, so we're also training ourselves again. They train themselves. I will breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily fabrication. They train themselves. I will breathe out, tranquilizing the body fabrication. So this has changed again. Notice how it's changed again. First one, general awareness. Second one, awareness of the length of the breath, so aware of something. The third one was a training, watching the beginning, middle and end. This fourth one, we're actually interfering with it. Notice how we're interfering with it. Once the mind is settled enough and we've gotten to that stage where we're seeing very clearly the whole breath from the beginning, middle, end, now we're tranquilizing the breath. What's tranquilizing? Sinking into it. We used some tranquilizing in that last practice we did. You feel how it started to sink you mentally? Sink, sink, sink. At this point here, you want to sink into the breath and become the breath. It's that last point of letting go. So you're no longer separate from, you're unifying with. In mindfulness of breathing, this is what we're doing. So you tranquilize. So at this point here, you purposely make your out-breath just a little bit longer. Sink with that out-breath. Allow it to sink yourself mentally, but hold awareness of that sinking. And then you'll sink deeper and deeper and deeper. Right? And head towards access concentration. So this is a path. If you try to go straight to that fourth stage straight away, you've got no foundation for it. Your mindfulness is too low, it will collapse. You'll wander off thinking, you'll be interested in sounds, that pain in your knee, whatever. So first one, establish silent awareness. That means no thinking about, silent awareness of the present moment. That's anchoring your attention in your body, just being generally aware of the breath. Once that silent awareness, you can sustain it over a period of time, then look closer at the breath and see the length, to see what the state of mind is doing, and relax into that and watch how the state of mind changes. Once the mind is settled down there, then start looking at the breath in more detail, beginning, middle, end. And whether you actually look at the whole breath from beginning, middle, end, or you just look at the end, is going to actually take you off on two different paths, so careful there. And I'll speak about that later in the year. It actually shoots it off in two different paths, okay, in meditation. So you've got to know what you're doing. Beginning, middle, end, or just end. Okay. Once that is clearly happening, you can see that really clearly, then the next one is just to take that last bit of resistance in your mind and allow yourself to sink in and join with the breath. To sink into that experience, be it the beginning, middle and end, or the very end, sink into it. So as you can see, it's very clear instructions on how to do it, isn't it? Very clear instructions. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like us to do that. We're going to be going through the stages faster than what you normally would. But it'll give you a feel of how the stages work. Yeah? Be able to play with that. So at the beginning of this year, I'm just talking about all the formal, this is how you do the practice. And then throughout the year, I'm going to talk about how to develop it, what stops it from developing and all these sort of things, and how it actually affects your brain and changes things. We'll talk about that. Want to give this a go? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, just close your eyes over lightly. Relax your jaw. Place your tongue behind your two top teeth. Take a deep breath in, and as you're breathing out, allow yourself to relax. Now immerse your awareness in the feeling of your body sitting on the chair or on the floor. Be aware of all the sensations within your body. Anchor your attention in your body. While your attention's anchored in your body, relax into it and start to notice how you can see or feel your breath as it comes in and goes out. At this stage, be aware of the whole breath from the tip of the nose, through the chest, deep down in the belly, and all the way back out again. While doing this, try to align yourself with the present moment. Be very attentive, very present. Now I'd like you to pick one point where the breathing is most obvious to you. Be it the tip of your nose, your chest, or abdomen. Pick that one point and gently be aware of each breath as it comes in and goes out past that point. Now, can you know the length of each in-breath? Can you know the length of each out-breath? Are they the same or different? Hold that knowing. Now, can you see the beginning of each in-breath and the beginning of each out-breath? How accurate can you be? Now turn your attention towards the middle of each in-breath and the middle of each out-breath. Now gently turn your attention towards the end of each in-breath and end of each out-breath. Can you actually see it? Now try to be aware of the beginning, middle and end of each breath and the gap in between each breath. Can you do that? Allow yourself to fall into the gap. Now start to tranquilize the breath. Breathing out, allow yourself to sink. Make the out breath a little bit longer. Allow each out breath to sink you deeper. And deeper into the breath. Now start being aware of the feeling of your body sitting on the chair or on the floor. Anchor your awareness in your body. Start being aware of any sounds around you. Hear them, but don't listen to them. And now when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Be aware of seeing. Be aware of being in the room. Now could you see when we're doing that practice, could you see the progression of those steps? First one, general awareness, establishing the mindfulness in the body. Next one, start being aware of the breath as it comes in and out. Just the whole breath. Feeling the whole body, the breath. So that's establishing your mindfulness. Right? So that's setting mindfulness to the front. Establishing your mindfulness in your body. And then what we did is we actually gave our awareness something to build up on or be attentive to. So we turned our attention then to the length of the breath. Through the length of the breath you could start to see your state of mind, couldn't you? You could see how settled you were. Normally you'd work with that, stay with that till it settles down. Next one we started training. We started looking at the beginning, then the middle, then the end of the breath, and then the whole of it plus the gap. Did you notice that in doing that, we were actually training accuracy? Could you see that? How accurate did you have to be to see the beginning of the breath? Do you find that? It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, see the accuracy suddenly, so the other one's not accurate. But this is accuracy. So what we're doing is we're increasing our aim. I want my attention just to sit just here. Before that we weren't sitting it anywhere, we were just being aware of. Now we're actually doing. That's why it's training. It's training because we're doing. It's precisely here the beginning of the in-breath. Precisely here the middle of the in-breath. Precisely here the end of the in-breath. And so on. So it's that precision, and that precision is necessary for the practice if you want to take it really deep. Now, if you want the practice just to have a general effect on your everyday life, you don't have to do it to that level. But if you want to follow it to its fruition, to the deepest level, you need to increase that accuracy, and that's how you do it. Yeah? If you're just trying to live a happier life, you can stop at that second stage, just knowing the length of the breath. And then you can settle into that, tranquilise into that, relax into that, and watch it make your mind state change. And so you're training yourself to habitually have a different state of mind. So your life will become happier. But if you want the deepest level of understanding, you train this accuracy more and more. And that final level, what did you experience when we went to the tranquilizing? Did you find it started, the accuracy was coming, concentration started to build, and then just started to kind of almost sigh or relax on that out-breath? How did that feel? Did anyone get an experience there? Nobody?
I noticed the gap got longer.
The gap got longer for you?
Yeah. Mm.
Okay. For me, what happens at that point there is then the mind sinks into the breath. It turns away from everything. Starts to turn away from everything. So it's very interesting. And of course we went through those stages really quick, didn't we? We didn't set up a lot of stability. So you'd find as the exercise gets harder, the accuracy gets higher in your meditation practice, of course you're going to fall off. Because meditation is like a tightrope that starts off like a plank and then goes to a really, really thin rope, and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. Right? And the balancing pole, right, is effort and mindfulness. You've got to have both into balance. If there's too much effort, you'll wander off thinking, or you'll get really agitated and restless. If your mindfulness is low, you'll dull out and you'll fall asleep. Or you'll just go into a half space state where you don't really know anything. Oh, it's nice and peaceful, but I don't actually know anything. So you won't actually gain the knowledge. Because it's the knowledge that you gain in watching how all these things interrelate that actually gives you the freedom in everyday life. It's that knowledge of yourself.